fantastical, so unpredictable, here on the SNL Network.
Yes, that is right. John here from the Saturday Night Network with a little bit of breaking news. It's always fun to get to do this every now and then, and that is go live as soon as we have new news from Saturday Night Live. And thanks to our friends at SNL for the heads up on our newest hosts that are coming on in. Very excited to discuss them today with the great Sammy K. Sammy, how are you?
John, I'm doing well. This might be the first time I've ever been on a breaking news edition of the Saturday Night Network, which is very exciting for me to be able to break down this host announcement with you. This is exciting.
Yeah, very, very intense stuff. Always. It's time to get excited.
Intense.
We have some great people who are coming into the show. So if you haven't heard, previously announced, SNL will be returning on February 25th with host Woody Harrelson serving as host for the 5th time. Harrelson will be starring in the upcoming film Champions in theaters March 10th. We also have Jack White making his 4th solo appearance and 5th overall appearance. So he's joining the musical guest Five Timers Club. White released 2 solo records in 2022, and a special 20th anniversary edition of the White Stripes' acclaimed album Elephant will be released later this year. So that's the news we already knew, Sammy. We don't have to break it down. We already talked about Woody Harrelson so much, and we're going to do so much more Woody and Jack White talk next week. But tonight, we got news of the next 2 shows after that. So let me read that out to the audience, and we'll get some live reaction from you, Sammy, right now. So first up, on March 4th, Travis Kelce will make his SNL hosting debut. Kelce is a tight end for the 2023 Super Bowl champion Kansas City Chiefs. So big expectations that we might be getting our first athlete host in a long, long time. I think since JJ Watt. If someone in the chat maybe could correct me if I'm wrong, but I think, am I missing anybody? Yeah.
Nothing comes
so there's
to mind.
that. And then Kelsea Ballerini, country music star, will take the stage as musical guest for the first time. Her new EP, Rolling Up the Welcome Mat, and accompanying short film were released on Valentine's Day this past Tuesday, and her Heart First US tour kicks off in March. Okay, so we got Kelce and Kelsey coming in for March 4th. Sammy, immediate thoughts.
Well, you know my immediate thoughts, which I'll share with everybody else, which when I found out this information, I said, would you guys believe that I don't know who Travis Kelce is?
No.
And for long time fans of this show, no, I'm not a huge sports guy. I did watch the Super Bowl. The name that comes to mind when I think of the Chiefs was Patrick Mahomes. That's something I do know. But Travis, just didn't know him, but I think it's exciting. I mean, it's funny you mentioned JJ Watt because I was trying to think what's the last episode of SNL where I had no idea who the host was when it was announced. The last one was Reggie John Page, but I had heard of Bridgerton. And then the one before that was probably JJ Watt. So, but I think it's always cool for these iconic sports figures to come in and see what they can do in the sketch comedy realm. And you might know the stats on this, having someone win the Super Bowl and then a couple weeks later host SNL. I mean, I think that's a pretty cool asterisk on it. Is there any comparable thing that you can think of an athlete winning a major thing? I mean, something that comes to mind is Michael Phelps with the Olympics, coming right off of that and the Olympics and everything like that. But, I guess this is a little different, being a non-Olympic sport. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Did Peyton Manning win his first Super Bowl right before he hosted SNL? Let me check that. So Peyton Manning wins. Yes. Peyton Manning wins the Super Bowl in February of 2007, hosts later that year. So that would be
how much later?
He hosts in March of 2007. So same
so
thing.
It's a similar sort of thing.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
And then Ellis in the chat points out Brady
awesome.
and Eli. So it's a football thing basically that this typically happens. But yeah, let me give you the background. So basically, Travis Kelce is the tight end for the Kansas City Chiefs. He is probably the best tight end in the league, probably one of the greatest tight ends of all time, if we're being real. Gronk fans don't hate me, but I said one of. And he has like probably the biggest personality in the NFL, one of for sure. Him and his brother, Jason Kelce, played against each other in the Super Bowl. So Jason plays for the Eagles, Travis plays for the Chiefs, and they host a podcast together called New Heights. So the New Heights podcast.
Okay.
And it is one of the biggest like new podcasts of the year. So Travis and Jason definitely making their mark. I think Travis Kelce is going to have a major TV career after he's done playing. And he's the guy that like, is completely polarizing. People, either love him or hate him. If you're a Chiefs fan, you're absolutely in love with Travis Kelce. If you're not, you probably don't like the fact that after the games are over, he's, like gets interviewed by reporters. He's yelling and talking about you didn't believe in us and all that stuff. But he has that wrestler persona, Sammy, that I think will play really well.
So that like definitely like piques my interest more than just hearing, that he was hosting, because, if you told me a podcaster was hosting, if you kind of sold it to me, you spoon fed it to me that way, I'd be like, I'm a podcaster. So that's pretty cool. I can relate to that. But that's exciting. And I know you're excited about the musical guest for that episode in particular, right?
Oh, I'm so pumped. And just by the way, like I see people talking about Mahomes in the chat. Like Mahomes, to me, would have been probably a bigger name. I mean, he's going to go down as like an all-time great, but Kelsey is a bigger personality. So speaking of Kelsey, let's talk about Kelsea Ballerini, who may not be as well known as some other musical guests this season. But I have to tell you, Kelsea Ballerini is one of my favorite artists ever. I'm the biggest Kelsea Ballerini fan, and I have mentioned this on the podcast a few times before. She is absolutely incredible. She's sort of like that pop country blend, and I guess I don't talk about how like I'm a pretty big country music fan.
This was news to me tonight.
Yeah, is this news to you, Sammy? After 2.5 years?
Yeah.
But I love country music, more like country pop, and she definitely fits the billing of that. She just put out a new album called Heart First. This comes recently after her divorce to another country singer, Morgan. I'm gonna say not Morgan Wallen, who is but a different Morgan. Give me 1 second. Who is she married to? It was Morgan.
Wait, I have her Wikipedia page open. I should have jumped in there.
No, not Morgan
Page. Morgan
Evans.
Evans. What it was?
Morgan Evans. There you go. Yes, she was. Yes.
Looks like they're divorced.
Yeah. Morgan Evans. That's the one. Morgan Page is an EDM artist. Morgan Evans. Yes, and they recently got divorced. And there's a lot of rumors about like who is Kelsey dating, and like she was recently seen like holding hands with like another famous celebrity, and like there's a lot of hype about it. But anyways, Kelsea Ballerini is like a huge fan favorite. She's not just like a typical country artist. I think a lot of people will be thinking about like Casey Musgraves, like that style, but she's really more pop. Like it was, I actually saw her in person. She came for a country music festival in Montreal last summer, and she like blew the house down. Like incredible. Everybody there was like going nuts. She was like there with like Luke Bryan was coming after her. Like she was great. Probably better.
Yeah.
So anyways, I'm very excited for her. This is like a huge booking, and she totally deserves this. She's worked really hard, and she just released, so as the press release said, just released a new EP, Rolling Up the Welcome Mat, an accompanying short film. So all about her recent heartbreak and overcoming that and all that stuff. So very pumped and thrilled for her, and it's about time.
Yeah. Very. Okay, I mean, this is an episode that I, basically have no expectations going in. So that kind of blank slate is, can be exciting. So
absolutely. Yeah, for sure. And I'm excited to talk about it with you. I believe you were on with us that week. So that'll be,
oh, wow.
That'll be, I think so. If I remember correctly, let me take a look at the schedule quickly, the podcast schedule. Yeah, you're going to be on the roundtable with us that week. So
lovely.
You better get researching on the Kelce.
I'm going to start watching a ton of sports games, old ones.
Yeah, for sure. Watch all the Travis Kelce games. Okay.
Yes.
Right after that, this is somebody who I thought would for sure host in January, because the biggest show probably in the world as the new year, as the year came to a close and we started to head towards New Year, was Wednesday. And as SNL said in their press release, Jenna Ortega will host SNL for the first time on March 11th. Ortega stars in Netflix's hit series Wednesday and the upcoming Scream 6, which was filmed in Montreal, in theaters March 10th. The 1975 will make their second appearance as musical guests. The band is currently on a sold-out world tour with their critically acclaimed new album being funny in a foreign language. So March 11th, we get Jenna Ortega and the 1975. Sammy, immediate thoughts.
This one I'm much more excited for. Jenna Ortega. I mean, you were talking about recently about like this kind of lineup of hosts we just had with Aubrey Plaza and Michael B. Jordan and Pedro Pascal. These are like some like high level bookings for SNL as far as people who are like currently in the pop culture sphere, like doing big things and like are some of the biggest stars. And Jenna Ortega absolutely fits that bill. She's only 20 years old. Similar to some other hosts we had this season, Austin Butler and Keke Palmer, has like a Disney Channel background. So really interesting that like SNL's been dipping their toes into that pool recently. She's a little bit or a lot of bit after my era of Disney Channel compared to Keke and
well,
Austin
she's born
Butler,
in 2002, Sammy. She's younger than Billie Eilish.
Yes.
So she's the new like host that's like born the soonest.
Yes. Yeah, no, that's crazy. So she is like she's not
like the youngest host because like we have to be careful about that wording, right? But she is like the newest born host.
We're getting closer and closer to that first host who is gonna be born after Keenan joined SNL. Like we're hitting that point in the timeline, and that's when the multiverse is gonna collapse. But I know her from Scream, like the new Scream from last year, and X, which was a cool horror movie with Kid Cudi and like Brittany Snow that came out last year. So as a big like slasher horror fan, like this is really exciting for me. Wednesday is a show that I still need to watch. We've talked about how I haven't watched it yet, and I need, and like now that she is hosting SNL, now that's on the books, I'm definitely gonna make an effort to binge that and finally finish that before her episode. But I think this is an awesome
CW
booking.
By the way, that show. Like if you like, that's the type of thing you like. It's
that's
very
what,
like CW-esque.
Yes, that's what you mentioned. You said it was like kind of CW, kind of Stranger Things, kind of Harry Potter-esque. But this is huge for the show from a booking perspective, and I think it'll be interesting to see like the kind of sketches they choose to do, similar to like the Billie Eilish episode. I feel like they were kind of targeting a younger demographic. That TikTok sketch that they did was pretty big. So I'm really curious to see what they've got cooked up with her.
Me too. I think this is another sign, as you mentioned, that they can get the biggest stars in the world now to host Saturday Night Live, and that SNL is back. Like we're doing really good stuff. This new era vibes, the start of the new era, all the stuff we've been talking about all season long. When you get hosts like this, it confirms to you how people's belief in Saturday Night Live. And for me, Jenna Ortega was like a no-brainer pick. Obviously super popular. I believe Wednesday, if I understand correctly, was like the most like viewed show on Netflix like ever, at least in like certain parts of the world. And it was just doing crazy numbers. Like of course, like TikTok, people were doing that crazy dance, the Goo Goo Muck all over the place. And like, I'm sure there's going to be a fun reference to that or a sketch potentially about that. Manette in the chat talks about Addams Family sketches. Fred Armisen actually plays somebody in the Addams Family in Wednesday. So, that's an SNL connection right there. So I think this is a brilliant choice by Saturday Night Live all around. I think they keep hitting home runs, Sammy.
Yeah, definitely hitting home runs. Did anyone take her in the host draft that we did?
I don't think so.
I don't think so
it's
either,
probably too early on.
Yeah, because I feel like Wednesday came out around Thanksgiving, and I feel like that was like kind of a sleeper hit in a sense, which like it's funny to like talk about it in that sense now, but just the Addams Family is not like a property or like a big franchise that like people in 2022 or 2023 you think are going to really care about, but you put someone like her as like the face of it, and like you have this whole new generation kind of getting really excited about the Addams Family and all that kind of stuff. So I think this is super cool.
100%. And what do you think about the 1975? I'll tell you, for me, like, when they first came out, I think back in 2013 was their debut album that I have here. There's a song "Chocolate" that was really good. I gave that 5 stars on my iTunes at the time. And then they had another album, "I Like It When You Sleep," "For You Are So Beautiful Yet So Unaware of It." Weird title, but they had a great song in there called "The Sound," which I believe they performed on Saturday Night Live the first time that they were on it. So I'm excited to get them back on. I know that they are hugely popular. Like 10 years later after their debut, hugely popular. I think the line for people lining up to see the 1975 will be nuts.
Well, the line between having the show be 1975 and Jenna Ortega, like I feel like that's like just as a pair pretty strong. Yeah, I mean the 1975. I think I remember when they were on the show with Larry David a couple of years ago. I think they were the musical guest. I think I
was that
remember.
then?
Yeah, I think I remember enjoying the performance. Like, it's not like I'm not gonna just sit here and be like I'm a huge fan. Like, I've like heard their music and I've enjoyed it. I think if I remember correctly, there's a funny thing from that episode where Larry David's like about to like bring them on for the musical performance, and he like kind of botches it, and he kind of like does like a weird thing with his hands. Guys,
did he
follow
do it with
that.
Bernie Sanders?
He did, like he announced it with Bernie Sanders.
Yeah, I think Bernie Sanders was on that episode, and they introduced the musical guest together, I think.
Maybe. I don't yeah, honestly, I don't remember enough. I don't remember enough from their performance or anything like that to say whether or not it was great or good or memorable or whatever. I guess it wasn't memorable because I don't remember it. But yeah, I mean, clearly they're a band that has a fan base, and I'm sure they're excited to see them on the show.
Got it. So yeah, I also say the 1975 was recently on The Tonight Show starring Jimmy Fallon. They performed a song called "I'm in Love with You," which I wouldn't be surprised if that's one of the songs they perform on SNL. It was really good. And so anyways, I'm so pumped for this lineup, Sammy. I think, like I said, kicking things off with Woody next week. We're going to do so much 5-timer talk. It's always really special. I know it's happening like a little bit more often as people are building up the stats, but like super special to do some 5-timer stuff. Getting an athlete host will be the first time in the history of the podcast that we get to talk about an athlete hosting Saturday Night Live and doing a full week of coverage for that. And then, just like Pedro Pascal, I mean, the Jenna Ortega week is going to be wild. I think the stands are going to be everywhere for that one. So it'll be so much fun to get to cover these next 3 weeks of Saturday Night Live. And for all of our listeners checking out this live coverage, I really hope you join us for all of our shows, Hot Take Shows, Roundtable, By the Numbers, Patron shows, because we're just going to have so much fun doing this. Sammy, are you pumped?
Oh, I'm pumped. And I didn't get to talk about the Woody Harrelson selection, but that I'm also just incredibly excited for. Happy to see Woody get his jacket. I'm very excited for this lineup we got going for us.
Amazing. Well, thanks to SNL for announcing this breaking news here on this Thursday night, February 16th, where we can break things down right away and talk about this. Thanks for everybody in the chat for joining us live. And you can always find us on social media, Facebook, Twitter, TikTok, and Instagram. We already got the posts up about Travis Kelce and about Jenna Ortega and our musical guest. Thanks to our amazing marketing team for putting all of that stuff together. So that's up right now. You can go there and talk about the new host and give your thoughts. And then obviously subscribe to the podcast, YouTube, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, because we are bringing you nonstop coverage of Saturday Night Live right here on the Saturday Night Network. So for Sammy K and myself, John Schneider from the SNN, we will see you next time, everybody.